People always said I was a good listener. "You're so easy to talk to," they would say. And I was. I listened to everyone's problems. I sat quietly while others talked and cried. I gave advice, nodded, and made people feel better. I thought, that's what a good friend should do. So I kept doing it. I didn't talk about myself, I just listened. But over time, it started to feel heavy. I had my own problems, but I kept them inside. No one asked about me. And I didn't know how to say what I felt. I had things going on too. Sometimes I felt sad, tired, or stressed, but I stayed quiet. Whenever I tried to talk, people would change the subject. I would say, "I'm feeling a little off today," and they'd say, "Yeah, me too," and start talking about themselves. I'd sit there listening again. At first, I didn't mind, but after a while, it started to hurt. I was always there for them, but when I needed someone, no one was there for me. I began to feel like my voice didn't matter at all. One weekend, I felt really low. I had a lot on my mind and didn't feel like myself. So I sent a few texts to close friends. I just said, "Hey, I'm feeling kind of down." I didn't ask for much, just someone to check in or say a kind word. But one friend replied, "Ugh, same, I'm so stressed," and went on talking about themselves. Another friend didn't reply at all. That was the moment I realized something big. People only listened to me when they had nothing else to say. Otherwise, I was just background noise. That night, I cried alone in my room. I wasn't just sad. I felt invisible. I thought about all the times I had stayed on the phone late at night, helping friends through breakups, work problems, or family fights. I was always the one who showed up, always the one who listened. And now, when I finally asked for a little support, nobody listened to me. That felt worse than being alone. It felt like I didn't matter. I didn't want to be the listener anymore. I wanted to be a person who was heard too. For a few days, I stopped talking to everyone. I turned off my phone and stayed quiet. I wanted to see if anyone would notice. Nobody did. No one asked where I was. No one said, "Are you okay?" That hurt, but it also helped me understand something. These people didn't really care about me. They just liked having someone who listened. I was the person they went to when they needed something, but when I needed help, they were gone. That was the moment I knew I had to make a change. I started thinking about why I always stayed quiet. The truth was, I didn't want to upset anyone. I didn't want to sound like I was complaining. I thought being quiet made me kind. But now I saw it differently. Being quiet all the time made people think I didn't have needs. That wasn't kindness. It was fear. I was afraid people wouldn't like me if I spoke up. But now I realized I was hurting myself by staying silent. And I didn't want to live like that anymore. The next time I saw my friends, we were sitting at our usual cafe. They were talking about their problems, like always. I listened quietly, but this time I did something different. When there was a small pause, I said, "Can I say something?" They looked surprised. I don't think they expected me to speak. My voice was shaky, but I kept going. I said, "I've been feeling really sad lately, and I feel like nobody noticed. I'm always here for you, but when I needed someone, you weren't there for me." Saying that felt scary, but also powerful. Everyone went quiet. One friend looked down. Another sipped her drink. I could feel my heart beating fast. I thought maybe I'd made a mistake, but I kept talking. I told them how I reached out and felt ignored, how I always listen but never get asked how I'm doing. I didn't yell or cry, I just told the truth. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like my voice mattered. Even if they didn't know what to say, I finally said what I had been holding in for so long. After I finished, the table was still quiet, but then one friend said, "I'm really sorry. I didn't realize." Another one said, "You're right. We've been selfish." Hearing that helped. It didn't fix everything, but it showed they were listening. Maybe they never meant to hurt me. Maybe they just didn't know how I felt. I learned something that day. If you never speak up, people might never know what you're going through. Waiting for them to guess won't work. Sometimes, you have to say the words out loud, even if your voice shakes. In the days after, things started to feel different. Some friends texted me more often. They asked how I was. One even said, "I want to listen to you today." That small sentence meant so much. It showed me that when you speak up, real friends will try to do better. I also started noticing who cared and who didn't. Some people stayed, some didn't. That's okay. I learned that it's better to have a few good people than a lot of people who don't care. I was finding my voice and I wasn't going to lose it again. Not everyone liked the new me. Some people pulled away. Maybe they didn't like that. I was speaking up. Maybe they liked me better when I was quiet and easy. That used to scare me. I used to think, if I talk about my feelings, people will leave. But now I think, if they leave, they weren't real friends. The people who stay when you speak up, those are the ones who matter. I stopped chasing the ones who only liked the silent version of me. I wanted people who liked the real me. Once I started speaking up with friends, I did it in other parts of my life too. At work, I spoke up in meetings. At home, I told my family when I needed space. I didn't pretend everything was fine when it wasn't. I said what I meant. It felt strange at first. I was used to hiding my thoughts. But the more I did it, the better I felt. I wasn't holding everything in anymore. I wasn't pretending to be okay. I was just being honest, and that felt like a huge relief. I still listen to people. That part of me hasn't changed. But now I listen with care for myself too. I ask myself, do I have the energy to listen today? If not, I say no. I don't feel guilty for setting limits. I understand now that listening is a gift, but only when it comes from a full heart. If I'm tired, I rest. If I need space, I take it. I'm not here just to fix others. I'm here to live fully too. And that means speaking when I need to speak. One day I stood in front of the mirror and said, "You're allowed to be heard." It felt silly at first, but then it felt true. For so long, I believed my voice didn't matter. But it does. I matter. My words matter. My feelings matter. I'm not here to stay quiet just so others feel comfortable. I'm here to grow, to be real, and to be seen. That starts with using my voice, even if it's small, even if it's hard, because every time I speak, I get stronger. Now, my circle is smaller, but better. The people around me care. They ask, they listen, and I do the same. We talk, we laugh, we share. It feels honest. I don't have to hide how I feel. I don't have to nod through pain or pretend to be okay. I'm still learning how to speak up, but I'm getting better every day. I still get scared sometimes, but I remind myself, I have a right to be heard. I have a right to take up space. I'm not a background character in someone else's life anymore. So yes, I was always the listener. The quiet one. The person who let others speak while I stayed silent. But not anymore. I finally spoke up. And that changed everything. I still care. I still listen. But now I talk too. I say what I need. I say how I feel. I'm not afraid to speak. Because my voice is part of who I am, and I won't hide it again.